We have a problem. What if I told you the time that Janie says she came out of her trailer and spoke to Malaya was in fact 10 a.m.? If that's correct, and I'm going to show you based on everything we know how I got to that time. The last time anyone heard Lily or Jack was 45 minutes before anyone started looking for them. And we do know, based on everything we've been told, that it was Janie who, in fact, last heard the children.
My brother, Ron, called me at 8:48 and asked me if I wanted to go to town with him. And I said no. I said, I'm staying home. I said, I'm going back to bed. Okay, I went and I laid down. Next thing you know, my dog started barking and the kids were out in the yard. Now, you can see there's two swings where the kids play. My bedroom is right there. I heard the kids. This is where the kids' swings are. This is where they always played.
And so that's where
I heard them. And I can hear everything in that trailer. If two kids get out of a fence, and Jack and Lily are all the time yelling, especially Lily, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go, Jackie. It's all I hear out here. When the kids get out of the fence and come out through here, I would have heard them yelling, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go. I didn't hear anything. The next thing I heard is I heard Daniel yelling. He was yelling for Jack and Lily. I didn't get up because I thought he was yelling for Jack and Lily to get in the house. So the next thing you know, I came out of the trailer after I heard Daniel, about, I'd say, 10 minutes after I heard him, I come out of the trailer. I opened up the door, was standing here. Malaya was standing right here with Meadow on her hip. And I come out and I said, what's up? She said, Jack and Lily are missing. I said, how long? She said, about 20 minutes. I closed the door, got my boots on, came out here, ran up in the woods. Just right up here. The kids have a little fort that they made out of sticks and fir branches.
All right. Now this timeline, if you even want to call it that, is ambiguous. All that we know is that her brother called at 8:48 a.m. Everything else is next thing I heard. But what I want you to pay very close attention to is when she says she heard Daniel yelling. That's going to become very integral in this. Also, too, bear in mind that Malaya has told her that the kids have been missing about 20 minutes. Well, we're going to realize that that isn't actually accurate. In fact, it's not even close to accurate, in fact. So how about, instead of the timeline that Janie just gave to us, what about this timeline?
I ran up in the woods to the kids. They have cabins up in the woods, which only took me like 30 seconds. I came right back down. She was on the phone with the RCMP. I ran up in the woods to the kids. They have cabins up in the woods. It's about, 100 feet up in the woods. Ran up there, ran right back down, which only took me like 30 seconds. And I was screaming for Lily and Jack, all the way out when I was running up to the cabins. And my mother heard me, so she came out and said, what's going on? And I said, Lily and Jack are missing.
All right. So now we understand that it was actually Daniel that told Janie that the children were missing. And he told his mother they were missing because his mother had heard him yelling for them. The only other piece of timeline we have is that she says that after hearing him yelling for Lily and Jack, She came out of her RV about 10 minutes later. He was coming down and saw her, and she said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Lilly and Jack are missing." At that time as well, Daniel has already identified that Malaya was on the phone with the RCMP. And we know from RCMP records the 911 call was made at 10 a.m. So if Daniel has been calling the children for 10 minutes and Malaya is already on the phone with the RCMP when he comes back down from the fort and he speaks to his mother, informing his mother that the children are missing. If the 911 call is made at 10 a.m. and he's come back down and she's already on the phone with the RCMP, that would be, let's call it 5 after 10. And he had been calling the kids for approximately 10 minutes. That would put that timeline at approximately, let's be a little bit liberal, 10 to 10, which is when Daniel may have run up into the fort and started calling the children. Although to run up and run down only takes him 30 seconds, which is what he has stated. But Janie has said that she heard him calling for about 10 minutes before she came out of the RV. So I'm happy with that piece, that he was calling the children for about 10 minutes, regardless of whether he was up at the fort or not. I don't think that matters. What does matter is this timeline, though, because Janie was the last person to hear these children. And that was shortly after 9. So if Daniel is not actually calling for the children that Janie can hear until 10 to 10, 5 to 10, that puts about a 45-minute window when the children were missing before anybody looked for them. But here's the other really, really big thing. Was it Malaya or was it Daniel that Janie spoke to? Regardless, because when Janie came out of the RV, if she spoke to Malaya or if she spoke to Daniel, we know that time had to have been around 10 a.m. I believe the real issue here that happened is that Daniel was at the fort calling. Malaya was actually on the phone in the driveway talking on the phone with the RCMP. And that is why Janie said to her, "What's going on?" And Daniel came down and said, "The kids are missing." Okay? This makes sense. This fits the whole timeline. And I'm going to offer up an explanation as to why it changed from Malaya to Daniel. Okay? And why there was this real fuzzy timeline provided by Janie. They want us to believe the children had only been missing for about 20 minutes. In order to keep to that narrative, this other narrative could not have come out, because if it did, it doubles the timeline that the children were missing before anybody realized. This is twice the timeline. We're not talking 20 minutes. We're now talking 40 to 45 minutes. What do you guys think? I would also ask you if you could please subscribe to the channel to support the work that I do here, if you want to see more of this, and if you like the content. Like, share, and follow along. Thank you so much.